Hey family, thank you for tuning into Our Roots podcast with 𝘃𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗲. We're only the strongest roots see the light. Brought to you by Botanica Candles More. And if you haven't had the opportunity, please tap on that like button and hit that subscribe button. 𝗃𝗏 and tarot today, topic that we're really excited about, especially with a bunch of new services that we're going to be offering here at the Botanica. Today's guest had a lot of success on her first video and has made some great advances in this oracle. So we wanted to go ahead and bring her back and get her take on her process of learning tarot and going live in actual consultations. Please welcome me, or join me in welcoming Miss 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗏.
Hello, Padrino. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you for coming back. It means we did something right the first time.
That's what's important.
𝗃𝗏 and tarot. We met less than 2 years ago, right? Something like that, when you got your first reading?
Oh, yeah. Specifically on March of last year, 2022.
Okay, wow. Yeah, time has really flown by. And I remember when you got your first reading, and this was obviously before you received Mano Orula, we were talking. You know, a lot of great things came out in that reading, I recall. And, you know, one of the things that came out was, you know, you were going to have a gift and a talent that you were going to be able to develop to be able to help others and yourself. Right. And ultimately, we came to the conclusion that that was going to be tarot. Right. So you go through your hand of 𝗃𝗏 process. You end up actually functioning here at the Botanica wonderfully. And all of a sudden now we're thrust into this oracle. So I guess my first question was, when was the first time you heard about the tarot cards?
When it came to the tarot cards, that was actually on TV shows when, you know, anything involving the occult and people were starting to throw it. But specifically, I would say starting college, that's when I officially saw other people throwing cards, doing tarot, but the tarot deck, not the one that, at least the one that I use currently. The first time that I had an experience with tarot cards was before I came to the Botanica, which was the reason why I'm here now. It was a male that gave me the reading. He was a spiritist. Well, he is a spiritist. And he gave me a reading. I don't remember the tarot deck that he used, but basically he just told me you have to find a 𝗶𝗏𝗏𝗏 because there's something heavy with you and 𝗃𝗏 that you have to get done.
Well, I actually recall that now because you mentioned that the first time you got read.
Yes, that was my official first time I got read with tarot, and with the Baraja was with another spiritist that said the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm a big advocate for this oracle because it's actually one of the other ones that 𝗃𝗏 recognizes, right? The tarot is in various signs, most heavily in the Odu of 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏. It actually speaks of when the tarot actually at moments had precision similar to that of the 𝗃𝗏 oracle. So for 𝗃𝗏 itself to say, hey, when you're not due for an 𝗃𝗏 reading, but you need a follow-up or anything like that, the cards are a real option, right? So that was really incredible to me when I read in the Afro-Cuban Lukumi 𝗃𝗏 that it actually spoke of this, right? What was your first interactions then? Once you started learning, now how do I put this? When you started going through the apprenticeship with Madrina, had you dabbled in the tarot before then at all?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm always a curious bird. I love learning new things. I love exploring different things. And I wanted to practice, but I never touched the Baraja until I got to Madrina. I started with tarot, specifically Tarot of the Illuminati. That's the deck that it's called.
Oh, man. What's that one like? Like the illustrations, what is it focusing on? The
illustrations are very, very detailed to the minimum, very colorful, kind of like the mirror cathedral decorations that you see.
Wow. It's like the stained glass windows.
Yeah, the stained glass windows. It was very, very heavily in detail. But it still, to me, lacked. There was something that lacked on those decks that the Baraja does not.
That's interesting because, you know, we've had a bunch of professionals float through the Botanica on a contractual basis or just service-based. And, you know, I've seen so many decks at this point, apart from the ones we sell. Like we did the interview with the Ashe shop, Miss Ashley. She showed her deck as well. You know, they're, apart from being tools, they're kind of like collector's items, because when you look at how beautiful they are, it's incredible. But the one tarot deck that 𝗲𝗏 recognizes the most heavily is the Baraja Española. 𝗲𝗏 recognizes this deck as being the mother deck upon which all of the other ones are based. You know, and it's been around for hundreds of years at this point. So what feelings did you get when you first saw this deck and started interacting with it?
First time I saw the deck, I was really confused because I'm not gonna lie. At first, the moment you take a glance at them, at least for me, was how do you read that?
Yeah,
Because it doesn't come with instructions.
yeah.
Like most tarot decks that you see on the markets, they don't come with a booklet of instructions. They don't come with basic, what
How
does this
to?
mean, how to spread or different spreads. So I got very shocked, confused. But when I saw the process of it being done, I was very surprised that this is way more accurate than a regular tarot deck. And that shocks me, but at the same time, it gives me this hope because you're forced to learn more than you think, but it also develops you and your mediumship. It forces you to develop, whether you like it or not.
I tell you, I remember when Madrina would be studying, like when we first got together, like I had aunts and stuff that would throw the baraja, but I never saw anybody delve in as much as Madrina or Miss Poroye. I mean, you know, I'd come home and I'd see the cards with like notes on them and, you know, all these other things. To be honest with you, it attracted me to her even more, because I'm like, look how studious this woman is, you know, because it actually reminded me of when I was studying 𝗲𝗏. Like my mother or grandmother would see all my notes and stuff like that. They're like, you're going to lose your mind. But the thing about it is, when you're delving into the divine and into an oracle, you have to be that invested in it, because you'll not, if not, you'll never get to that point where you feel like nothing's lacking, right? But it was interesting because 𝗲𝗏 recognized that this deck, as in depth as it was, could be as precise. And I knew that that was true because I remember looking at a card. I think it was like the three of coins. And I'm like, oh, that must mean money, you know, three, 𝗃𝗏𝗏, and, you know, the coins, all these other things. And then, you know, when I told that to Madrina, she's like, actually, it means like marital issues and loss of everything. And like, I was like, oh my God. So it's not like other decks where the fire card comes out, where it's like, okay, careful with like, too much passion or leaving a candle on. You know, what were some of the obstacles once you started learning? With the deck, like, was the visual aspect difficult? Was anything difficult? Was nothing difficult?
Yeah, for me at least, it was really difficult because, again, compared to other decks, tarot decks have the imagery.
Yeah.
So they have all the details, all the vivid colors, if there's people involved. There's a lot of elements on one card on the tarot deck, but the baraja is so simple, and
Yeah.
yet each card has its particular meaning, a deep meaning that you have to learn to interpret, that you have to take your time. When it came to me, I didn't know how I was going to manage, to
Yeah.
be honest, because again, it didn't come with instructions,
Yeah.
but I had Madrina
Yeah.
and her notes on how to get it done. And how was I going to memorize each and every single card? How am I going to know how each card in each category, what does this mean? How am I going to interpret all of them at the same time so it can connect? So it was difficult at first. But there's difficulty in everything that we do to a certain degree, especially when it's something that we don't know how to do
Nice.
in our first encounter. So as long as you are motivated and you're dedicated to something that you really want to get done and you really want to learn, it's going to be successful and fruitful.
You would have been a fabulous 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Mima. Just like I say this to Madrina all the time, because it really is study. I mean, we're entering into a digital age where, you know, if you look a certain way, make a certain noise, you could end up with, you know, 1 million followers on TikTok. And, you know, what ends up happening is you begin to lose the essence of what we're really here for and what we're really trying to do. And to see somebody like yourself who technically has assimilated this culture within the last 2 years, accelerate at your pace, is really astonishing, you know. And it's a tribute to your academic background, being so educated, you know, collegiately, and then apart from that, your spiritual background that you've developed. You know, you mentioned Madrina, and it makes me think about my elders as well, because if you're going through that with the tarot, imagine what we're going through with 𝗲𝗏. You know, you throw a chain, you get a couple ups and downs, and it's like, figure it out. So I remember my godfather, I was I mean, I was blowing up his phone. We were talking every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And his clarity and guidance allowed me to just focus on learning, memorizing all of these different things. And I attribute pretty much, I got to say, the majority of all of my knowledge, all of my processes to him. So you having that with Madrina, how important was it to have a mentoring guide as you were moving forward with this oracle?
It's vital. I
Nice.
say that if we don't have a mentor in anything that we're doing, especially in 𝗀𝗲 and in tarot in this specific case, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're opening things that you're not supposed to be opening. You don't know how to handle different energies that might come to you. So having a mentor has helped me keep my goals straight, understanding what I'm doing with detail, because even the smallest details can be easily forgotten.
Yep.
But your mentor is always going to be there telling you, oye, you can't be doing this. Do it this way. Do it like that. Why don't you try this instead to see if that works or doesn't work for you? And that's something that I cherish.
Yeah, super key, because you can learn all of the literature and you can learn the process, but there's certain things that you're not going to learn in a book. What to say, how to say it, what not to say, etc. And that's really where guidance and mentorship really comes in. I ask you because you've moved forward so quickly, and that's how we run our establishment. We give recompense to merit. The people that put in the work and time, they grow very quickly with us. So what did you feel like, or what was it like when we came to you saying, hey, do you want to actually do this for real, and start reading people and, being a partner within our establishment?
I was grateful. I was happy because this is something that I wanted to do, and the fact that my godparents had that trust and that faith in me that you can get this done. You showed me that you can do it. Do you want to actually go forward with this? And that's the encouragement that a lot of godchildren need, that unfortunately many godparents don't feed.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, and that says a lot about you, because most people would be terrified. Not you though. I mean, maybe it's the Ogun thing, it's let's go to war and let's accomplish this goal. But when we saw how positively you reacted to it, it was really reassuring to us, because that's the kind of response you want to see, because that's the same response we gave to our elders when we started going through that apprenticeship process, right? So a lot of people are trying to learn the tarot, right? The tarot, I would say, is probably the most consulted oracle besides, a glass of water, right? What were some of your study methods? People, I'm sure, because some people are going through the same things. Everybody's brain works differently. We memorize this, maybe a flashcard, an audio. What was your process like with study? Because, even though we haven't formally confirmed it, I'll say it now, you've learned the tarot fully. I mean, you're always learning, but you have the basic knowledge of each card to be able to realize a consult and interpret it. So what was your study process like? What were you incorporating?
So my study process started, at least that's how I was. First, I set it a goal, because this was already brought up to my attention that we need readers, in this case in the Botanica. So I gave myself a goal. By the end of the month, I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
Whether I like it or not, this is going to happen. And that's one thing that pushes us. When you set a goal for yourself,
The deadline.
a deadline, it happens.
Yep.
Especially, I don't know if that, at least for me, it did in college. Don't leave anything for the last minute.
No, God, no.
I know a lot of people can birth an entire paragraph,
Yeah.
work, assignment, whatever, in less than 24 hours. But you can't do this.
That's
You can't do
dangerous.
that here.
Yeah, no.
No. So I set up first a goal. By the end of the month, I'm going to get this done. I started dividing the tarot at first. So since it has 4 categories for me, so coins, clubs, cups, and swords, I'm going to dedicate one day to each group.
Yeah.
Study it one by one. Then I started dividing them with the group of 1s, the group of 2s, the group of 3s.
Nice.
I also use Madrina's notes, obviously, because if I don't have those notes, I don't know what I'm going to study.
And her notes are a little different than the ones in the book.
Yes.
Like, because we sell the Baraja book, but Madrina has another set of notes that were given to her by her Madrina. Because back in the day, to be able to get a tarot, to be able to start to throw tarot, someone who was already like rolling or had a practice had to gift you your deck. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? So it's crazy, because I've seen her do readings with other spiritists around, and when she does her spread, she'll start talking the cards, and people will be like, and they'll be completely like shocked because it's nothing of what's in their literature, and the client is confirming everything that's being said.
Right. A lot of things. One thing that I like to tell a lot of people that want to learn about Ifa or tarot specifically is don't use just books. Books are a really good resource if you want to refresh or if you want to confirm certain information.
Definitely.
But if you have a godparent, if you have a mentor or a guide, they are going to be your first consult with everything and answering your questions. And at least that was and is my relationship with Madrina on that point. Anything, even it can be simple or it can be stupid, because a lot of people think that, oh, it's going to be a stupid question, I'm going to waste their time.
Thing.
There's no such thing as a stupid question. If you think that this is important to you, it's going to be important to your godparent.
Claro.
And they will take the time to answer that question. So in my case, that was vital. Madrina was and is still my main resource whenever I have questions with the deck.
That's how it should be. I mean, that's what you've entered into this agreement for, so you can receive that growth and that pedigree, So here we are. You've learned the deck. You're getting a grasp of it. What was it like in that first reading?
I was anxious. I'm not going to lie, because
Gotta be.
You're always anxious because it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
It's going to be about the person that's in front of you.
Yes.
And you start to get anxious because what if I get this wrong? What if this doesn't happen? What if I don't know how to explain certain things? But one of the things that I learned from the get-go was confidence, because you're the one that studied this.
Yes.
You're the one that dedicated time, sweat, tears to get this done. So the only one that truly knows the baraja is the person that's throwing it.
Yes.
Not the one that's sitting in front of you. Same with you, Padrino.
Yeah.
The only person that knows what's going on in the chain and in the room is you.
Yeah.
And you can't let other people influence that.
Yeah. No, it's a sacred space and a sacred moment. I remember the first reading I ever did. I think the only thing I knew from the sign that came out was like 3 proverbs. And I got through the reading. I remember the first consult I ever did, it was for a Santeria that had 𝘃𝗵𝗍𝗂 for like 20 years. And it was so ironic because we were at a red light and I saw the day. And I said, 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗲𝗍. She said, oh, you're about out. Let me get the number. And we exchanged. I gave her my information and she was getting a reading. And that was actually my first reading after doing Ifa. And I was pretty shook, because I was like, okay, I made it through. Okay, no complaints. Oh, my God, she's actually scheduling what came out. We survive and we live, to fight another day. But what I would always do is after a reading, I would immediately start studying that sign, see what I remembered, see what I forgot, try to learn one new thing, and the same thing comes out. Like let's say I read that person with the 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗶𝗍. 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗶 is going to come out again. So you want to be even more prepared the next time it comes out. It's like let's say a card, one of your weaker cards comes out. You know what I'm saying? You're like, okay, the 5 of Swords. I know like a good 3. You want to know at least a good 3 to 4 things per card. You know what I'm saying? But let's say I could learn a little more. You stop, like when you're done, you have a moment for yourself. You study a little that evening. And that way you start building this foundation of knowledge, right? So it's interesting because I think at this point, what have you done now? Like over 50 readings, something like that? Getting
around
close,
like that,
around
yeah,
there between
I
apprenticeship and now going live, you know what I'm saying? And for everybody, big part of this video is letting you guys know Kathy is offering services here at the store. And she's, fully trained and approved by us. So, you're going through your readings, you're getting great reviews. People are very satisfied, as you're moving forward. It's interesting because you look at the tarot and, whatever your spread is, and we'll get into that in a little bit, each card has a meaning. You want to keep it fundamental. You want to talk about what's in the cards. What's it like when you start hearing the muerto? Like when the muerto starts sneaking in to the reading to start giving you other things that might not be in the cards?
It's interesting, and at least in my case, the moment I know the muerto's there, it's when I start getting chills.
Yeah.
I start getting really nasty goosebumps that they can hurt sometimes, and that's when I know that he's there, and I start spitting out information. This is what's going on. You've been feeling like this, and they just look at me like, I never told anyone this before. How do you know that? Yeah. It's like, I don't know it. The muerto does. And a lot of people don't know that about this particular deck. We're not working with just the cards with the Baraja. The cards are a divination tool that we use to communicate more efficiently. But the main thing that's giving us the message is the muerto.
Nice.
And that's the first thing you got to be grateful about that, because the muerto's giving you that ability to, hey, we're going to have to communicate this, because we cannot finish this reading without getting this down.
You'll feel off.
You'll feel off. You feel confused because you know it's not you.
Yeah.
You feel odd. You feel confused. You feel, at least for me, I feel kind of dizzy sometimes when it's really, really strong, a particular energy that wants to come through, or that, that they want a particular message to come out. But that's how you know that it's legit.
Yeah.
That it's the real thing.
Yeah, you get those confirmations that are just inexplicable. You're a really interesting case. I feel like regardless of guardian orisha, if you have mediumship and divinity, as far as sight and hearing and things like that, the orisha doesn't interrupt it at all. But, you're interesting because you're a daughter of Ogun, very spiritual people. But some people have the concept that, the children of Ogun don't have that contact as fluidly with the other side. I mean, do you feel like your guardian angel has interrupted you whatsoever within you using this oracle?
Not at all. Ogun has been very present when it comes to the readings, because, at least for me, I know that Ogun can be a little aggressive.
Toco.
Bien toco, bien straightforward, that if you don't like it, ese no es problema mío.
Yeah.
But we got to get it out and we got to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that happens on the readings. Sometimes you're going to get something that you're not going to like to hear.
Yeah.
But we have to tackle it, whether you like it or not. Yeah. And I know Ogun is one of those that push it, get it out. I don't know how you're going to get it out, but we got to do it.
Yeah, that is a common thread. Like, I've met brothers that are children of Ogun that are 𝗿𝗲𝗹𝗁, 𝗵𝗲𝗹 and stuff like that. Amazing, consultants. Like, they have a bunch of clientele and their readings are great, but sometimes it's not that they're not refined men, but sometimes it comes out como quiera.
Como salga.
Yeah, and to be frank with you, a lot of their clients appreciate that, because it's the one thing they were there for, or the one thing they really need to hear in that way to be able to have a breakthrough. Because when you're consulting people might come with their own ideas of what they want to hear, of what you're going to say, of how they want you to say it, to kind of confirm their own lack of desire to really tackle issues. And then the oracle, the ancestors, the energies, they have a completely different idea of how they want things to go. What have you noticed with people? How has the demographic been? Like, have most people been receptive of even the uncomfortable confirmations, or are you noticing that most people don't want to hear the truth and they just want to hear what they want to hear?
It's a 50-50 situation for me, at least. The information comes out and they confirm it, but some clients might not like how it comes out because I don't want to accept that.
Yeah.
Or they come with this expectation that we're fortune tellers.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to give you lottery numbers.
Yeah, no. We wouldn't be here if we had them.
No. No.
We wouldn't be here.
But they come with this expectation just because, and that has a huge influence on us, is what we see on TV.
Sure.
They have this portrait of what a reader is supposed to look like. And not all of us are like that.
No.
Especially the methods and in the practice that we're in. La Baraja is not like that. And whoever has that expectation, break it now. We are not fortune tellers. We are not here to give you what you want, but what you need in order to succeed. Because that's what the muerto wants. The muerto wants to see us successful.
Yes.
They want to see us happy and fruitful. And the only way that we can get to that is if we tackle the bad that we have right now. So we have to start breaking that expectation that everything's going to be good and jolly and pink and roses.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's awesome. And you can only have those, ideas and those, thoughts about said topic because you're in it and you're doing it and you're taking on, case after case after case and seeing a thread. What spread are you guys using? Because I've seen 9, I've seen people throw the whole deck, I've seen people throw 1 card, 3 cards, 5 cards. What do you guys do?
In my case, I do 5 cards.
Okay.
I do past, recent, present, potential, and future.
Okay. So you're
That's
pretty
what I
much
do.
covering everything right there.
We cover everything.
And I mean, what have you noticed? Because I'm sure you've experimented, not that you've necessarily used it in live readings, but maybe you looked at what a 3-card spread would look like, what a 7, what a 9, 10, what have you. What have you noticed about the 5 that you feel is superior or more effective maybe for you than the others?
I feel like it's complete because I'm not lacking information, but I'm not overdoing it because it's a lot. That deck has a lot of cards. We got to be real. And I'm going to be honest with you. The first time I got a reading with that deck, I got a reading with all the cards on the deck.
Yeah.
I got desperate. I got anxious.
Yeah.
Because this is going to take forever.
Yeah.
With her going slow, one by one.
Yeah, seeing the thread of how they're in sequence.
The fact that the client can see the small amount. And again, the reason I like the 5 spread, it's because it forces you to interpret. It forces you to develop your mediumship versus having all of the cards in one. Because it's a lot easier if you see them.
Yeah, you're just looking at sequence. Yeah.
But when you have lesser amounts, you're forced to,
fill in the blanks.
Yeah, fill in the blanks. Use the keywords, but okay, what does this mean based on this client? Because I can have 10 clients that have the same card, but they never mean the same thing to each client.
It's like an Ifa. I could see 10 straight people with the same sign, same prophecy, and they're all living different situations. You know, it's about knowing how to interpret. How important is interpretation?
It's vital. Because again, it forces your mediumship to develop. And the more you develop that interpretation skill, a lot of messages come through. And it can be unexpected. At least for me, it happens now. Even if I'm not reading somebody, it happens when I see a customer coming in.
Yeah.
Why are you like this? You feel like that. At least for me, when it comes to my interpretation, I feel a lot. Whether it's stomach pains, back pains. I'm very physical when it comes to that. And I know it's spiritual in particular because I get chills. When it's spiritual and a client comes in, I know there's something going on because there's, out of nowhere, there's cold all over the place and I feel pain. Their stomach is hurting. Their heart feels weird. It feels big or it feels strong. It feels like it's doing too much. Their back feels heavy. I can't walk. I feel drained. I feel like I'm dragging. Like, for example, when I gave the message to Eric those few months back, and that was maybe 2 months after I got 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗲 with you.
Yeah.
And recently, like less than a month, he told me, you remember what you told me on the
he told me on the couch,
yeah. He asked me, I remember when he came for the first time here that I saw him, he saw that I was attending a client, telling the client that, hey, you're not feeling very good, this is going on. And then he approached me. We started to have a conversation where that came out. And he asked me, do you see anything in particular with me? I looked at him for a while and I told him, you have to be careful with your heart. I don't know why, but there's something going on with your heart. And less than a month later, he comes back because he needs to pick something up. And he says, you remember what you told me at the Botanica? I'm like, yes, that came out of my 𝗀𝗲𝗃 sign. I have to be careful with my heart.
Wow. And, you know, I tell you, that's why me as 𝗃𝗏𝗏, I'm so respectful and I'm so considerate of the legitimacy of other people's gifts and oracles, because even though Ifa is seen as the most full, is seen as the most complete, that doesn't mean everything is there all the time. You know, God speaks one truth, but he doesn't always use the same instrument. Maybe something will come out in the sign of Orula. You'll meet somebody randomly and have a confirmation with them over there, and they'll be like, oh my God, you know, and you start getting all these correlations. So that's why I tell everybody it's so important to respect each other's oracles, gifts, processes, because at the end of the day, it's like you said, the focus is the client, the focus is the result, the focus is the progress of all of us as well as the person we're trying to help here. I have a question. Now that you've gone live and, you know, you have clientele and things are moving, have you had any wild cases yet? Like any wild readings?
Woo.
Really? Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've had my fair share of those readings, but we always end up looking on the positive note.
Yeah.
No matter how negative, and that's something that I want to tell everyone personally, no matter how bad things get, we're always going to find the positive side of things at the end, because it's not always going to stay bad.
Yeah.
We got to
It'll
find a way.
pass.
We always got to find a way to make it positive, even though it hurts and it's difficult to process now. But it's going to get better. It always gets better. And giving the client that light, that hope that it's going to get better and they understand what I'm going through, that's the most valuable thing for me.
Yeah, I've had a couple wild ones. Like, it's actually funny because 𝘃𝗧𝗏 yesterday reminded me of one where I didn't almost get assaulted. That, like, somebody got tackled in the room. I almost got tackled. Like, it was a wild scene. I tell you, this is a job not for the faint of heart. Yeah.
Oh no.
So, you know, and I think they tried to interact again, and I'm like, I can't take that chance. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but it happens. At that moment, you kind of just lean back and just try to avoid the blows. But it's a wild career. I look at the history of the tarot, and it's really beautiful because they say it goes back to like mid 1400s almost. It was kind of developed like medieval times-ish, Renaissance-ish. They say that the gypsy clans had a lot to do with the development of it. That's why you see those kind of spirits are so heavily involved, whether it's them coming through in readings or possibly even manifesting in them. How does it make you feel being somebody that now is utilizing this tool that we're so blessed to still have and commemorating the memory of people that were persecuted for this? Because card throwers and things like that, at one point, they were being executed, So how does it make you feel, or how responsible do you feel to maintain the integrity of it? And how does it make you feel to actually be taking part in, commemorating those people as you move forward?
I'm grateful and I'm humbled because I'm given the opportunity to help people. And yes, we do have to be cautious with it because, again, we're working with people. We're not working with a statue. We're not working with anything inanimate. We're working with actual people that have actual problems. So not only do you have a responsibility as a reader to keep up with yourself, but you also have a responsibility to take care of your client. So we have to be cautious with how we communicate things in the room as a reader and as a medium. We have to be cautious with how we say things, when we say things, so we don't manifest the wrong things, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, because you're in a space where you're in direct contact with a divine energy, and what you say can manifest. And I was just having this conversation with someone. We have a big error sometimes when we read, not us specifically, but what I've noticed in the community is they have the God complex, where a sign will come out and be like, oh, this sign says you're going to die. Can't really relay that information like that because you are in a place where whatever you say can and will happen. I remember when I went through my training and your godmother went through hers, they always told us, you speak with caution, right? You don't say you're going to die right now. You say, hey, you need to be careful with situations that can cause a lack of function. We need to refine ourselves, and that's why even when people who start coming down with the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 for the first time and all these other things, this is why you have to work your 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 so hard so that when they come through, it's not so heavy and so intense. Because I've seen people come down with the 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 and the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 just run into a wall and faint. But are you working your 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏? No. How hard are you working the prenda? I'm on top of the ganga every day. Like, these are things that overstimulate in a way that don't refine. And we're not living 1,000 years ago in Africa or in any part of, rustic Europe where things like this were happening. So, knowing that, how seriously you take it, where are you trying to go with the tarot now? Like, how intensely are we still studying? How much more do you want to delve in? Because some people will get to where you are right now and they'll be like, I know enough to survive and I'll be here. But where are your goals going to take you?
I'm still in the studying phase.
Yeah.
I gave myself a
deadline.
As
we all are.
Yeah. You give yourself a deadline so you can get the basic grasp of things. But you're always going to be a student.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what, no matter how old you are, you're always going to learn something new. And it's never a bad thing for you to refresh. Never a bad thing. That doesn't make you any less of a professional. That doesn't make you any less of a human being, because we have a capacity.
Oh, yeah.
We learn to a certain capacity.
Yeah.
So we have to dedicate at least 5, 10, 30 minutes, whatever it is necessary for you to study the same thing every day, so you can understand it and you can develop fully, or you can develop more on that aspect. And don't tell me that you don't got more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like even the brother 𝗶𝗸𝗶𝗶s, when they come to me, they're like, man, I got no time to study. I got 12 kids. I got a wife. I got this. I got that. I said, even if you do a proverb a day, you're laying down groundwork. It's like people say, oh, I can't go exercise. Something is better than nothing. Making the right dietary decision, exercising, studying the oracle, whatever it is, consistency always trumps motivation.
And it's always good to find alternatives. If you can't sit down, record yourself studying.
Yeah.
Listen to your
The phone
recordings
is
every
huge.
day. The phone is huge. We have a phone. All of us have a phone.
Yep.
You have the ability to find a way to accommodate study in your life. If you're someone that goes to the gym, for example, like you said, oh, I don't have time to study, but you go to the gym at least 2 hours, audio. Oh, I don't like reading, but you're in TikTok for 2 hours scrolling.
Consuming, yeah.
You can read it on the phone.
Absolutely.
We always have to find a way to apply ourselves, because you can't expect everything to come in a silver platter to you. The muerto's not going to give you anything by hand. You got to work for it.
Oh, yeah.
And if the muerto sees you working for it, he's going to start giving you advice. He's going to start communicating with you a lot more. Mira esto, atiende aquí. Oye,
patience. Yeah.
you have to have patience, motivation, dedication. That's how you see progress in your mediumship and in this religion, and specifically in tarot as well. If you dedicate and motivate yourself and always find time, no matter how much it is or how little it is. You may think that 5 minutes isn't enough. 5 minutes is a lot of time. You can do a lot in 5 minutes. Be consistent. Find a routine. Find something that helps you focus. Because if you really want it, you're going to make time for it.
Absolutely. When you're motivated, you will find a way. You know, what advice would you give to people who are thinking about delving into this deck, or just, you know, tarot in general, but specifically this deck, being that I think, as a 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, this deck is probably the most complex one there is, period. What advice would you give to people who might be a little afraid, might find it daunting? What advice can you give them before they get started on their journey?
Find a good mentor first that is willing and capable. Because one thing is them being willing and another thing is being capable. And then it can be reversed. They can be capable but not willing. Yeah. You have to be cautious with the mentor that you get. Once you find the right mentor, have patience. This takes time. This is not something that in less than 24 hours you're going to learn. That is not going to happen. You have to be patient in learning new things. You have to develop a routine in study and spiritual maintenance, having spiritual hygiene. So get your 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶. Start praying on your 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶 at least once a week. Attend it. Give the muerto flowers. Have their glass of water. Have their candle. Be praying at the 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶. Date tu baño blanco. Your white baths are going to be essential after the readings. Do practice readings. Practice readings helps a lot too. But always lean on your godparent. Your godparent is always going to have your back no matter what. And they're going to be your main source of motivation for you to grow, prosper, and move forward. If we don't have good godparents, we can't do anything.
Yeah, you know, and it's whether you're a child or a godchild, your success really depends on your parents, at least in the beginning, for sure. And if you're lucky enough to have some that are present and willing, capable and willing, life, usually when it gets off to a good start, it continues like that, you know. You know, you being somebody that's, you know, educated, somebody that's spiritually developing so much at this point, how has this oracle and this practice benefited you? Because some people are like, yeah, I want to do that, but, you know, it's a life of servitude at the same time because you're serving the public, you're serving human beings. What has been the benefits for you, though, since you've taken this on?
It has opened my eyes to a lot of things in the practice. It's helped me develop my mediumship. It's helped me connect with my ego, with the 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶. It's helped me understand that other people have struggles as well. And the fact that they're depending on you to tell them what's going on is big. So you get humbled, you get grateful. Whenever you slip, you know that that's the muerto. Oye, you kind of te estás desviando. You gotta go back. So it gives you that constant reminder of having your own organization, routine, and commitment. And that's what it's taught me. And I know that's what's going to keep teaching me, including spiritually developing.
Is this something you would teach your children?
Absolutely.
Is it something she's already seeing? Because I know she's as inquisitive as can be.
Absolutely. She gets curious. The first time she saw the deck, oh, we're going to play. I'm like, no, these are not cards to play. These are mama's cards that she uses to talk. Oh, you talk to the table. So she knows without me explaining that. And sometimes when she sees me studying, what is that? Oh, this is this card. This is what it means. Oh, okay. And she associates. If this is something that you want your children involved, you also have to be invested in spending time with your children to make that happen. You can't expect them to do it by themselves either.
No, the exposure, letting them see what's going on, and seeing the positive effect it's having on you, your home, the prosperity that may be arriving, the real confirmations and closure you're giving people, the kind of comfort that you can't find anywhere else, you'll find it right here.
Antes de que se me olvide.
Yeah, please.
You don't read tarot to get money. This is not to make money. This is a responsibility that you have.
Yeah, sure.
This is something that it has to be taken seriously. And if you're doing this solely for the money, mejor no lo haga.
No, yeah, anything you just do for money is never going to be
fruitful.
I mean, money comes with any type of success. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we have to provide for our families. But, if you're dedicating this much time and you're involved and you have a sincere desire to see people do well, the prosperity comes with it. But I completely resonate with that. I remember when I was a young boy in 𝗀𝗲𝗃, I didn't know the 𝗵𝗲𝗹𝗁 could make money off of 𝗵𝗏. Most were doctors, or maybe some were, doing some other activities. Like, I didn't know that any of them actually charged for any of their services. I thought these guys just did it because they loved it. And I was completely shocked when they said, you can charge for a reading. I was completely taken aback because I was completely unaware of that. So
it takes you aback out of nowhere, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, but if this is a spiritual service, why are you pricing it if it's to help people? Unfortunately, nowadays we have to, because we don't have a choice.
Yep.
We're investing a lot of time. We're investing a lot, dedication,
energy,
knowledge,
time away from your family.
Yeah,
in a room,
absolutely.
Looking at cards, yeah.
And nowadays, I can't do anything, for example, with a bag of sugar. I can't do anything with that.
Yeah, no.
We need money to survive, unfortunately, but that's how we understand the responsibility of things. That's how we manage to identify what's worth it, what's not worth it, and that this takes time. This takes a lot of time.
Well, you have people out there who say, well, I don't want a mentor. I don't want a guide. I'm going to do it on my own.
Good luck.
And that could, yeah, right. And that could lead to mistakes. And I ask you being somebody that learned well, practices well, maintains good habits, what could be some of the negative effects of using this tool, this oracle, incorrectly or unethically?
The first thing, you're going to feel the side effects immediately. If you don't know how to handle the deck or how to handle helping people spiritually, it will affect you not only spiritually, but physically as well. You can start getting physically sick. You can start feeling foggy. And I don't remember the exact words because it's quite a bit, but basically it's a prayer on the collection of selected prayers by Allan Kardec for the mediums. Yeah. If my purpose is deviated, take it away, because we are not here to make money off of people. You gave me a responsibility. You have given me a gift that I have to use for good. And the moment you start seeing me deviating from that, no, take it out, because there is no reason for you to be doing that right now. I didn't give you this gift. I didn't give you this amazing opportunity for you to throw it in the garbage or use it for your benefit like that.
When you were a child, did anything start occurring to make you did you have any childhood experiences where it's like, hey, I'm a little different? Kind of like the X-Men complex, I like to call it. Like, did you start noticing phenomenon or feeling things or seeing things that could have led you to this path?
Since I was little, I started feeling things. My mom would always tell me, oh, esos son ñoñas tuyas, or don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But ever since I was little, why do you breathe like that? And then I would get notified. Well, my mother would be notified that, hey, your daughter did this comment and I have something wrong with my lungs. I still remember my earliest, which was specifically that. My mother had a coworker, unfortunately, he passed. Um, and every time I would look at him, he always was breathing heavily. He was always struggling. Even though a lot of people wouldn't see it, I would feel it. I would feel very lethargic, pressuring myself to breathe more. And one day I asked him, why do you breathe like that? He just looked at me, and my mom was like, cállate la boca.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Don't be disrespectful.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm okay. But it stuck with him. So he went to a doctor. The next week, he came to my mother and told me, hey, you remember your nana told me something going on with my lung? She's like, yeah, what happened? Tengo metástasis.
Oh, wow.
I got lung cancer and it spread bad.
Oh.
So I don't know what your nana is doing, but it's scary. And that has been like that pretty much. Every time someone feels weird to me, I would say it right away. Or I would tell my family members, don't be driving at night. Be careful going home. We shouldn't go out today. And whenever they would follow that, they saw that something happened. For example, oh, we shouldn't be going out at night to this place. Oh, okay, then let's not go. I mean, we haven't been ready yet, so let's not go. And then in the news, it would appear that there was a shooting in the area.
Wow.
So I always had that ability since I was little, but it wasn't as refined as it is now. The best way that I can say it is, well, obviously, it was raw at that time, you know? You don't know how to control it. When you're a child, you don't know how to control certain things. It just happens, and you have to deal with it some way or another. And you would feel irritated. You would feel annoyed because either someone's not understanding what you're trying to say, or they just disregard it because, oh, that's just child talk.
Yeah, especially, you know, with the topics that you went over in your Christianity video, you know, especially where things like that are not recognized or shunned, you know, you going through those kind of processes and not being able to express them. All of those who have mediumship qualities knows that if you don't have an outlet to be able to let these things out, it gets very bad. It gets built up inside of you, it gets pent up, and it usually leads to some occurrence.
It can block you.
Completely, to the point where I've had people told me, yeah, I used to see, you know, people on the other plane all the time when I was a child, but now I couldn't even get it back if I tried. You know, it just, you kill that aspect of yourself to the point where it really, most of the time, is unable to be achieved again, you know, or retrieved. So big difference from then and obviously now, where your interpretation skills have gotten so on point and you'll be able to understand and accept, hey, this is what's happening, and I can utilize this information to help and assist. So big leaps and bounds there. But like you've mentioned beforehand, the mentorship was very important. You know what? I mean, obviously, you met Madrina through me, you know, but there were obviously other options, I'm sure, beforehand at one point. What really what were you looking for, most importantly, in a spiritual mentor? And what did you see in Madrina that really swayed you towards her? Because you could be my goddaughter, and I have goddaughters that don't, you know, apprentice under her, at least at the moment, or whatever their processes are, but you chose to. So what was that like?
The fact that the first thing that drew me right away was she kept it real.
Oh, yes.
She keeps it real. And that's something that I need. Because sometimes a lot of people tend to like sugarcoat things and kind of hide, and you got to find a way to see what they're trying to tell you. No, Madrina's not like that. She will tell you what's going on, work with this, or you're not seeing any type of progress. She gives you that tough love, which is necessary for your mediumship to develop, for you to understand what's going on, how you're going to work with it, and how you're going to develop properly. Another thing that I'm looking in a mentor that she has is that she listens. Even though she gives you the advice, she lets you speak. Yeah. And then she finds a way to explain or give you that point of view. Well, why don't you work with this instead? Why don't you try this then? This can be a confirmation for that. I always like to have that feedback from my godmother. Or even if I have a question on something, for example, I don't know how to interpret this dream. The madrina gives me that point of view. Well, this could mean that. Another thing is that she keeps me grounded. I want a mentor that keeps me grounded, not tienes que comprar esto in order for you to develop. No. The things that you get, they can be addition, but they're not the main thing to help you develop.
Correct.
You have to put your work on it.
Correct.
And that's what she always, and you too, keep that real and consistent.
Yeah.
You have to keep getting this done. You have to be consistent with your work. You have to be consistent on the bóveda. You have to be consistent with taking care of yourself, taking care of the muerto, taking care of your spiritual hygiene before, during, and after the readings. And that's something that I cherish.
Oh, yeah. Not just because she's my partner, excellent listener, very proactive human being and very goal-oriented, you know what I'm saying? And that's really taken her to the space that she's in right now. And, you know, I've always enjoyed her methods because, ironically, when we got together, a lot of her spiritual process was similar to mine, being that our godmothers were kind of contemporary as far as the amount of time they were in and things that they had experienced in Cuba. You know, when you talk about Madrina's program and her protocol and the steps that she takes you guys through, a big thing is misas, right? You know, being in them. She's pulling you guys for them. You're sitting in, you're going live. What was that process like, especially in the beginning and throughout, and how has it benefited you?
So the misas was something that I was exposed to the first time with her. I've never been to a spiritual mass, especially like that.
Wow.
The misas are more than what you think. What I always tell people on the mentorship program is expect the unexpected. And same with anything involving spirituality, always expect the unexpected. With the misas are essential for enlightenment. They're essential for elevation. I'm not saying that you can't do that by yourself on the bóveda, but if you want to see real work done, attend the misas. The misas not only help you, at least in this program, not only do they help you build your bóveda and how to maintain it properly, but it also assists in giving light and elevation to your ancestors and to your eguns, to spirit guides, and it can get to the point where they are revealed to you. I still remember my misas from the first day, and that I got to my first one, that one of my muertos was revealed immediately. I thought that was something that I was never going to see. I was shocked. I was excited. I was anxious, not going to lie. But it helped me understand a lot when it came to spiritual development. For example, I did one of the misas that I assisted to, my gitana was revealed, which is essential in the deck when it comes to reading the deck and the mentorship. She was revealed to me, and I'm never going to forget, it was one of Madrinas Muertos that came down. And she came to me, looked at me in the eyes, and told me, you have a spirit with you. And she's a gitana. She's got curly hair like yours. And I still remember because I got goosebumps. She grabbed my hair. It has curly hair like yours. She has curly hair like yours. She's blonde. She's fair in skin, and she's in porcelain, which I was weirded out because I'm used to seeing the muñecas here that they're plastic.
Yeah, the older ones were a little different.
So I'm like, why is she particularly in ceramica? I don't understand. But she told me she looks like the one you had when you were a child.
Wow.
And I do remember that I had a particular porcelain doll just like the one that I have now for my gitana. She was fair in skin, blonde, long hair, dressed in pink. She told me she's going to be the one to help you with your mentorship because they're heavily associated with that.
Of course, it's theirs, really.
And the fact that that was revealed and confirmed to me was even more of a push for development. But the misas are essential. Not only do they cleanse you in the process, you learn how it goes down. You learn and understand everything with the smallest details. And it always reminds you that the basics are always going to be your strong suit.
Yeah.
You don't need to have 20 million things to get it done.
No.
But it helps you develop massively. And that's one of the things that assists you, especially when you're reading the deck. Going to the misas and getting your spirits elevated is essential if you want the muerto to give you the messages a little bit more clear and give it to you organized.
I tell you, you see a lot of people, you know, they're reading, they're looking online for resources and whatnot. You begin to really separate the adults from the children in this spiritual practice when a muerto oscuro comes through, when you have something that's even borderline demonic, you know, and then it's like, how do you react to these things now? Because those things aren't out there. That is, like you said, you're learning it in the misa, you're learning it from your elders, there's prep. You know, you never know what's coming into the circle that night, especially if you're going live for a client. You don't know what their background is most of the time. So that's why it is important as far as the mentorship and the misas, building up your spiritual immune system, you know, to be able to deflect those kind of things, because negative things only go where there's space.
Exactly.
You know, and then it's interesting because I do believe we get selected for things. Like for you to have a spirituality like that, it's because you're meant to be doing what you're doing, right? So the same way you have a mentor in life, you also have to have a spiritual mentor. Your own muerto is the one who's going to aid you in moving forward with that. There's an old saying that says, if you're a 𝗵𝗸𝗶𝗏, it's because you have a muerto that's with you, that's a 𝗵𝗸𝗏. Because it's almost like a sponsorship system where, hey, you're going to help this person achieve this goal the same way you did. Because that's really what this is all about. It's all about helping. We're not meant to go through these things alone. And the day anybody wants to and be King Kong, they're the ones that really don't get far, you know? So
Yeah, you have to be willing. You have to be open. A lot of people tend to get scared when it comes to the misas, but the misas are always going to be beneficial to you, even if it's one message that you receive. Again, I still remember my first misa precisely. Again, the muerto came down on the first misa. I was not expecting that.
yeah,
And she told, the muerto told me, you have the ability to read people. And that is a gift. That is a beautiful gift, and you'll be able to help and heal people. You can help and heal people with your hands. And you're going to be able to read tarot. You're going to be able to read the oracle. And you will be going to big places, but you have to be willing to put in the work.
yeah.
And I want you, I get chills. The muerto told me, I want you to be my daughter, which was Madrina's muerto.
Yeah, that muerto specifically, especially if it's Alma.
It was Alma. Yeah.
Alma has this funny thing. And, you know, maybe some of the people watching have been the victims of this or have been on the receiving end or have received the positivity as well. Alma says, I'm the one that brings you in and I'm the one that takes you out, you know,
Yep.
and she's really no nonsense, you know, and whether it's within our house or in other houses, because Madrina's done enough misas where around Central Florida that muerto has really walked and it has quite a following. But for her to actually say that to you, especially so early in the game, it's sincere, because that muerto, as elegant as she seems, she has no time for politics. There's no hypocrisy within her. If she said that, it's because she sincerely meant it. Because I've seen her say the complete opposite to people, and then we never see them again. So, you know, and it's interesting because now that kind of segues into what I was going to get to. Your divination process now that you've built up your spiritual immunity and strength, now that you're going live and attending to people, what is the lead up before? Because I back then we would always say the misa, let's say you have a misa on Thursday. From the moment you wake up on Thursday, the misa's begun. Mm-hmm. Not because we're sitting down at the table or anything like that, but nature starts talking to you because it knows that the portal's going to get opened and the door. So let's say you have a reading on Sunday. Your reading starts from Sunday morning because the muerto might start, you know, being up in your ear from then. So what is your lead up to the divination process and going through?
The messages could be starting even before that, before Sunday. It could be 2 days before it.
Definitely.
You're going to start seeing things. But when it comes to the divination process, on what I do, spiritual hygiene, I attend my 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗲 twice a week.
Nice.
I've grown instead of once to twice a week, and I do novenas. I basically do 9 prayers. I make sure that my 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗲 is always full. The glasses are always full.
Nice drills.
I always have 2 candles For some reason, the muerto's always telling me 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗲. So I put 2 white candles there. I pray to each and every single one of the muertos that I have and that have been revealed, to my ancestors, to all the Eguns. After that, I have to keep myself from getting contaminated by information from third parties, because that can heavily influence how the reading is going to be.
Yeah, you can't let nobody talk to you. You can't.
Yeah.
You have to seclude yourself from the client, because if not, it'll taint it.
That's one thing that I've learned, and something that has been reinforced indirectly by Madrina, and it's that the less information the client gives, the better, because that's how you know the authenticity of the reading.
Yeah, that's the stamp.
So I do everything in my ability to not see the client before the reading. It's inevitable sometimes, obviously, since I work here. They can pop in out of nowhere. Oh, remember, I got your reading on this day, and it can be a little awkward because they start talking. I'm like, no, don't tell me more than that, please. But you want to keep yourself as secluded as possible in order to get the most accurate results. Once the day of the reading arrives, I go again to my bóveda, even if I've already attended it twice, and I ask for clarity. I always cast the bóveda and the muerto, show me the muerto and the clarity for the message to come through. Because for me, that's one of the best ways that you can start seeing the messages to its full-blown potential. Whenever I'm going to do the reading and come here, I put a saya. I precisely have a skirt on because of that, too. To respect the practice.
Sure.
Right. I also clean myself in the bóveda with Florida water. I cleanse myself at the bóveda. I ask for clarity again. And I set up my area. Basically, it's going to be the table, a tablecloth. Always have a tablecloth because your tool is sacred.
Yes.
You don't want it hitting the ground. You don't want it to get dirty. You don't want it to get like that. Especially if you're using it as a divination tool. It should not be touching the ground, and it should not be touching any particular surface that has not been blessed.
Prepared, yeah.
Yeah. The tablecloth, I used a small assorted cloth that's been on my bóveda. I always keep my cards in the bóveda as well. I forgot to mention that. My cards are always on my bóveda.
Good practice.
And even here, I put my cards on the bóveda and I leave them there until I go to my consultation.
Yeah.
I always have a glass of water when it comes to the readings. The reason I have the glass of water, it's because that is a symbol of purity, a symbol of clarity, and it also helps spirit communicate. And then if there's any negative energy or negative vibrations, it falls in the water and doesn't stick to the client. I also have a white candle lit. I like to have the white candle lit because light attracts spirit.
Sure.
It represents life, that flame.
At least the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always have a white candle lit for spirit. I like to have my notebook. I like to write quite a bit. And the reason for that is so I can connect better. It helps me. There are a lot of mediums that don't do it that way, and that's okay. Everybody has their own way of connecting. But that's the way I was taught. And I regret nothing on it. It may take a while, but it works. And never question what works.
Yeah, no, if it works, it works. No lo rompe.
Absolutamente. The next thing that I also do is a prayer. That was recently introduced to me by Madrina. Do an invocation or a prayer before you start the reading.
Definitely.
Specifically from the collection of selected prayers from Allan Kardec. Once the reading starts, you also want to cover your head. I always like to cover my head since that's where your ori is. That's where your energy comes from. You don't want it to be tainted. You don't want to be grabbing energies that you don't need to, right? After I finish with the client and I give them the recommendations from the oracle, which are vital, you need to give the recommendations.
Why are the recommendations so vital?
You want to give everything to the client, and you also want to help them succeed. You want them to be able to solve their problem. It's like you going to the doctor, get diagnosed, but you don't get the medication to get better.
Thank you.
So why am I here?
Exactly.
So that's why we do the recommendations. The recommendations are for you to help you solve what's going on and be successful. and we do everything in our ability to help you. But if you don't accept the assistance, I can't do anything for you.
No, you've done your job. You've identified the issue. You've provided a solution. And then at that point, it relies upon the client to be able to make those decisions for their own well-being or not.
Exactly. And another thing when it comes to the recommendations, that a lot of people have that 50-50 with them. It's because they think that, and I'm sorry for the French, we're pulling it out of our ass. It's not, no. We're not making it up. We're not, we just want to get the money. No. The oracle, the muerto's the one that tells you, you have to do it this way. These are the recommendations that are given to you, whether it's a baño, whether it's an 𝗃𝗍𝗶𝗍 bracelet, whether if it's a candle ritual to help you get that clarity and to cleanse you. The recommendations are from the muerto, not from us directly. Correct. We are a vessel for the muerto to communicate it, because a lot of people don't have the ability to understand what the muerto is telling them, no matter how much the muerto shows you.
Correct.
So that's why we're here. We're here as the third person to help you and the muerto communicate properly.
Definitely.
So the recommendations are vital, because if I spent 30 minutes reading you, give you the recommendations, and we don't follow them, we wasted our time.
The 𝘃𝗍𝗋𝗍 says if you want the negative things that the diviner is speaking of to come true, don't do the recommendations. And 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗲 says you'll never get full results with partial efforts. So those recommendations, the stamp of authenticity on them is when you're killing the reading. I don't know anything about you. We just spent a half hour going over your life and all the things that are pertinent. So if I've been able to identify these things up until this point, you should have enough faith and confidence in me as said professional to be able to recommend the things that are going to resolve your issue as well. And it never fails. But what also never fails is when people don't do the things, we see them 6 months later, and they're like, I need another reading, And usually that second time around, they're like, what do I have to do? Let me get it done. Because they see the other outcomes. When you're done with a reading, how are you protecting yourself? How are you cleaning yourself and getting back to normal?
So the first thing that I do after the reading is finished, I immediately go to the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 and cleanse, because you're working with a lot of stuff. Anything can come through, anything can happen, and sometimes the messages can be pretty strong for the client, to the point that they could start crying or they don't like it. Yeah. So it can affect you as well. Yeah. So cleansing on the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 is going to be a must, always. And when I get home, I also cleanse on the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 again, because I can grab anything. Basically, I'm an open door now from my home. From work to home. Yes. So you have to cleanse. After I cleanse on the 𝗃𝗏𝗏, I take white baths, so I can stay clean, purified. I have that clarity. And after that, I do my prayers. I sit down, do my prayers. I stay at home and I relax. I try my best to not overdo it, because when you start overdoing things spiritually, you get overstimulated. You don't want to be sitting on your 𝗃𝗏𝗏 every day, doing 9 prayers every day, because not only are you going to get physically exhausted, but you're going to be spiritually blocked, to the point that you're one line away from going insane at this point. That's
like working out the same muscle every day. Like, I knew a guy in Miami who would work out biceps every day, and his biceps never got any bigger and nothing else did either. So spiritually, there's a muscle or gland that has to do with these kind of processes. And if you do too much, you'll burn it out. So
exactly. And it happens the other way around too. If you don't keep up with it, it starts to go away. You have to be training it all the time. You have to spiritually be motivated, have that spiritual maintenance always, especially if you're doing your readings. Because not only has it been already revealed to you that this is something that you not only have the ability to do, but you have to do, then now you have an expectation that you have to meet. Especially, again, when the muerto tells you directly. Because a lot of people think that, it's the spirit is, doing a show or whatever it is. But when the muerto has to come down and tell you directly in your face, esto es lo que pasa, believe me, I don't even know how to explain it. But you have that push, and now you have that expectation and responsibility. And if you are not ready to take down that responsibility and take care of yourself and take care of the client, keep up with your spiritual hygiene, doing your 9 prayers or doing your 7 prayers, keeping your 𝗿𝗲𝗹𝗁 up to date, getting your glass of water, giving them clarity, cleansing yourself before, during, and after the readings, then you're not showing me the commitment. You're not showing me your true intentions.
Definitely, because it's tedious. It's tedious, but you have to look at a doctor, right? He washes his hands before surgery. They're sterilizing during surgery. They disrobe and everything after surgery. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with anything when you're going into war or you're going into work or whatever, however you want to view it.
You have to prepare.
You have to prepare. And you have to also integrate and then separate, because the hardest part isn't always getting there. It's getting out.
Oh, yeah.
So being able to leave work at work and still have a life, because you're opening yourself up spiritually for said client to be able to have those confirmations and interactions with their ancestors, their guides. You're putting yourself at risk every time. And if you do a mishandling of self, that's when really random, phenomenal nonsenses occur. We've seen it. You see the stories come in, the pirititas come in, religious professionals like, no, yo hice tal consulta, I did this reading, and then after that I got in an accident, or my tire popped, or God forbid something worse. And you just listen and you look at their processes, and unfortunately you have to say you're putting yourself at risk by not incorporating all of the great habits that Madrina has taught you, that our Madrina has taught us, and so on and so forth. Even with Ifa, you know, if I'm giving a cuchillo, if I'm doing Ifa to somebody, or even in a bowl that's kind of intense, I have to do things for myself, because it's not only going to negatively affect me, it'll negatively affect my family. And it's my job. It's not my family's job. So we have to protect them the same way we have to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
So, whoa, that was fabulous, right? What a wonderful conversation, Kathy. A lot of great information. You dropped a lot of gems today. A lot of your own ideas, even within all of the information that we've provided and you've been able to assimilate. This moment for final words, anything you want to express, anything you want to let the community know based on this conversation about tarot, or anything that could help them get to that next step as well, like you have.
When it comes to tarot, find a good mentor before anything else. Always find a good mentor. Be cautious with finding a good mentor. Be open to constructive criticism. A lot of us don't like it, but it's necessary for spiritual growth. If we are not willing to take advice, we're not going anywhere.
Correct.
Right? Be patient in the process, no matter what it is. Be patient with yourself and patient in your process. Not everybody learns at the same pace. Not everybody's going to learn everything. We are not to that capability. We're never going to know everything. You have to start being humble, being grateful, not only for the opportunity that you were given, but the gift that you received from your ancestors and your 𝗂𝗏. If you are not ready, don't push it. Don't rush it just because someone told you to. Take your time. Understand the process. Develop a routine. If you have the commitment to develop your routine, to cleanse, to pray, to be consistent, you can start slowly under mentor supervision. Never do it by yourself until your mentor gives you the green light.
And that green light, you know, we call it the 𝘃𝗍𝗃.
The 𝘃𝗍𝗃.
Like as when a 𝗏𝗏𝗹𝗁 is given the 𝘃𝗍𝗃 from his godfather to be able to conduct ceremony on his own, it's just that simple. That energy, that acceptance, that, you know, green light that you mentioned. And it's the same thing with you guys. From all of us here, just want to take a moment to recognize you. Congratulations on all that you've been able to learn. You've moved forward at a lightning pace. I can't explain how satisfied we are with your growth, and the community is with the services you're providing.
Thank you.
Lots of blessings to you, and it's only the beginning, and I'm sure Ogun, 𝗿𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗍𝗏, Egun, and everybody else that walks with you is just as impressed.
Thank you.
All right,
and thank you both, to you and Madrina, for taking the time to teach me and to have that patience with me for that growth and to always stick there.
It's been very enjoyable.
Thank you.
Eso. Family, Couple closing thoughts before we go ahead and disconnect. BotanicaCandlesMore.com is up and running, where you can schedule services such as a reading with Kathy or myself or any of the other professionals here at Botanica Candles and More, as well as products. We ship everywhere practically. The podcast is or has been downloaded over 10,000 times on all major 12. Oh, there we go, Phil. 12,000 times on all major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. If you're unable to catch the visual, be sure to listen to the audio. Really great option as well, right? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. A big thank you from all of us here at Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, see the light.